Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the Horse Show here on Wisp Sports. This is Season 4, Episode 25, and I'm Chris Stafford. My guest this week is American multidiscipline rider and driver Carrie Wehle, who has proved that she can turn her hand to pretty much any number of equestrian sports, from dressage to driving. A lifelong horsewoman, Carrie recently competed in the USEA American Eventing Championships, the sport, she says, which is her first love. But she's just as adept at pure dressage or out fox hunting. Her family raised Standardbreds from the 1,000-acre farm in upstate New York until Carrie took over the reins and downsized to a more manageable 400 acres. Since the age of 12, when she got her first horse, Carrie has built up a business and now has 50 horses on the property, with loyal clients who share her values and her love of horses. I spoke to Carrie about how she balances her competitive interests and what new equestrian sport she would like to take on next. Thank you for joining me. Welcome.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
It's interesting, to find somebody who manages to find time to do so many different things and multidisciplines. I mean, many horsemen and women these days, of course, can do more than one thing, but it's finding the time and the horses. How do you do it to manage to do all of these disciplines?
Well, it's not easy. Living in upstate New York, we have about 3 months to do whatever it is that we want to or need to do up here. The summer is very short, and with doing multiple disciplines with the dressage and the eventing and the driving, I also fox hunt and do a little bit of timber racing and that sort of thing. You could go to 5 competitions every weekend up here if you wanted to, which is great. It's a great horse community here, but to find the time and to spread yourself that thin is difficult. So I'm an eventer at heart. I do mostly the eventing. My clients are mostly eventers, so the eventing takes priority, and we have a few large local events here. We used to have the Stewart Horse Trials. That, of course, is no longer, but the Genesee Valley Riding and Driving Club holds 2 horse trials here, and the Genesee Valley Hunt also holds a horse trials here. So that's a big deal for our local horse community, and I volunteer. All of my riders volunteer for all of the events, for setup and tear down and all that sort of stuff. So those are a big priority for us. We do travel some for the eventing, and then we also have a local dressage association here, the Western New York Dressage Association, and they also put on 2 shows. And then as part of the Genesee Valley Riding and Driving Club, they also do driving and driving shows. So I was on the board for the riding club for over 20 years and sort of got involved in all of it, in all aspects of a local riding and driving club. Very involved in the Walnut Hill driving show, which was the largest pleasure driving competition in the world, which is also no longer, and sort of just ran with it and started to do more and more with the dressage, and owned a gray off-the-track thoroughbred that, when I got him, had been difficult in eventing, and I got him cheap, and I'm pretty good with the off-the-track thoroughbreds, and my budget allowed for what they were asking for him. They were trying to get rid of him because he was difficult. My budget allowed me to purchase him, so I own him. And I evented him through intermediate, and he was not a fan of the dressage. And so I started to take him to the local dressage shows, and sort of by accident, I earned my bronze medal on him and was entered in the next dressage show when I had completed my bronze medal. So I thought, well, all right, I've completed first through third. I no longer need to do third. I'm signed up for third at the next show. I might as well just sign them up for fourth and see what happens. So went to the next show, completed a bunch of fourth level tests, completed my requirements for the silver medal for the 4th level. And then at that point, sort of thought, well, that's kind of ridiculous. I probably should just go ahead and try for my silver. So I kept progressing with him because it was only helping with the eventing, of course, for his flat work to get better. So I kept progressing with him and kept eventing him. And when I had the opportunity to go to a dressage show, I did, and moved him up to Prix St. George and worked with him at Prix St. George. And amongst all of that, also started driving a pony that I ended up with sort of by mistake. My sister was pregnant at the time, had a client that came to me and said, hey, I need you to break my 2-year-old. Just so you know, we also have this games pony that we need to sell. And I said, oh, was you interested in the trade? And they said, well, sure. He also drives, and he came to us with a harness and a cart. And I said, super, bring it. So I got the pony and the harness and the cart and broke their 2-year-old and sent their 2-year-old home and started to play with this pony. And she said, well, we've had the pony for, I think they'd had him for 7 years or something. And she said, we've never driven him. So, well, I have an indoor and a harness and a cart, and why not? So we took him in the indoor, and I line drove him, and he seemed to be fine. I hooked him up to the cart, and he seemed to be fine. And I took him to Walnut Hill, which is sort of like taking a Volkswagen to a Ferrari show, and did not do well in the pleasure turnout. You know, my carriage wasn't fancy, and my harness wasn't fancy, and I didn't know I had to wear makeup and jewels, and so I was a little bit of a beginner at that, but I was quite good at the cross-country phase. And he did well. I think he was second that year in a large pony division at Walnut Hill with, you know, super, super fancy ponies. From that point on, just kind of kept doing a little bit more driving with him. I'd do the Genesee Valley Driving and Riding Club. I'd do their little show. We didn't travel a ton with him. But when he sort of needed to retire, I sort of fell into a Dutch harness horse stallion that was a 2-year-old that was broke to drive. We got him. We started doing more and more with him, my husband and I, and got into combined driving with him. Also did the pleasure stuff with him. He was very, very fancy and very successful at the pleasure stuff, and was pretty hardcore and brave. And so we bought a marathon carriage, and that was kind of neat because my husband could go with me on cross country, which obviously isn't the case in eventing. So, you know, he was my navigator, I was the driver, and so we started to get into these combined driving events, and that was fun. It was fun for us to be able to do things together, and he didn't have to wait for me at the finish line at cross country. He was with me. And when he ended up getting sold to, he actually lives in Bermuda now, and the money I got from selling him sort of happened at the same time as this dressage horse came up for sale that I had known in the area. And I had always sort of had my eye on it. I had spoken to the owners and said, geez, would you be interested in leasing? I really don't need to own a dressage horse. I'd like you to complete my medals. But, you know, I got to focus on the eventing. I've got the driving. So long story short, I spent the money that we got for the stallion and bought the dressage horse and competed him, finished my gold medal. I've been at Grand Prix now, I think, for 2 or 3 years on him. And since I sold my driving horse, then back to the original naughty off-the-track thoroughbred that I had, I didn't have anything that was driving at the time. And I own him, so he has to do what I want to do. And I decided to break him to drive. So I did that, and we did 2 full CDEs with him. It was very interesting. There were literally people that would come up to me at the driving shows and say, I want to shake your hand. You're driving an off-the-track thoroughbred. That's nuts. And so that was entertaining in itself, and he was very good at it. He really liked it for a short time. I think he was probably the only horse in New Jersey at the New Jersey Horse Park to complete the preliminary horse trials there and the preliminary CDE there. And he also, I've timber raced him. He fox hunts. I did my first side saddle show this year in Aiken with him. I ride a lot of client horses, and I need to do what those clients want and what's best for those horses. But this particular horse, Ashton, I call him, he's mine. So if there's something that I want to do, he has to do it. So his career has been very, very varied in that, you know, he's evented through intermediate. He's gone dressage through Pre-St. George. He has timber raced. He has fox hunted. He has done side saddle. He has done 2 full CDs. And, you know, he's still here, and he's 18, and he's still doing his thing, and just a neat horse to have around. And he doesn't drive anymore. He decided at one point in Aiken, it was kind of a windy day, and he decided he'd had enough of the driving. So we don't drive him anymore. But he's very good at many other things. So right now he's being ridden by a high schooler, and she's doing a lot of dressage with him, and he can still jump, and she may event him some, and he'll probably go back to Aiken and do the Pre-St. George with me this winter, and that's his lifestyle right now. So that
now,
sort of
what
sums
about
it
the
up.
beginning of it? What about the beginning of it all, though, Carrie? Because you talk about what's happening now and how easily you've transferred from one discipline to another. But let's take us back to the very beginning of your riding career and your life with horses. Where did you learn to ride and learn to drive and develop the skills that you needed so they could be transferable to all these disciplines? And where did you learn to ride sideways as well?
So I grew up on a 1,000-acre horse farm in upstate New York that I now own. I only own 400 acres because the property taxes in New York State are pretty ridiculous. So my husband and I have 400 acres that used to be a very large Standardbreds breeding farm. So my grandmother had Standardbred racehorses, and when we were kids, we had a pony and rode a little bit, and there was a little riding academy up the road from us, and we took up down lessons from her. And when I was probably about 12, got my first real horse and started doing more and more riding and lesson shows and that sort of thing at that point. And then when I turned 16, I basically said, hey, can you teach me how to hook up the horse trailer, because I'm out of here, and took the off the track thoroughbred I had at that time and started fox hunting him, and was introduced from the fox hunting to eventing and started eventing him. And at that point, it just kind of grew and blossomed, and I did more and more with the eventing. And as far as formally learning to drive, I really never did. At summer camp that I went to when I took my horse, the woman who owned the summer camp took an interest in me and my horses, and we drove a little bit there. She, again, no real formal training. And once I got the pony and sort of started playing with the pony on my own, and showed up at Walnut Hill and was sort of eyed by a trainer there. And he sort of said, gee, would you like some help? And I said, sure. So I started going to a couple of driving clinics and took lessons from PJ Crowley, and he helped me, and he's the one that got the driving stallion for us. And as far as the side saddle goes, there's a woman by the name of Sue Cisco in Aiken, and she's a pretty big deal in the side saddle world and wins at Devon every year. And it was just one of those things that now with Ashton, I sort of thought, well, you've done a lot of things. What else would I like to try in the horse world? And I thought, you know what? I bet you'd be really good at side saddle. So I took him to Sue's, and Sue put a side saddle on him, and you start slowly with him. And we started slowly, and I rode him a couple of times in the side saddle, and we started playing a little bit with the lead changes in the 3rd and 4th level dressage tests. And then this year, last year, it was my plan to do the horse show in the woods. It was the 100th year, I think, last year, the horse show in the woods in Aiken. And it was my plan to try to do the side saddle division there just for fun. And Ashton decided about halfway to Aiken, he was going to colic. So he got left at exit 205 in Virginia and had colic surgery on my way to Aiken. So he wasn't able to last year do the show, the horse show in the woods, but this year he was. So I called up Sue Cisco and I said, hey, so this is kind of a crazy idea. Do you think you can help me get this done? And she said, absolutely. And the side saddle community in Aiken could not have been friendlier, could not have been kinder. People were lending me things that were very expensive, very antique, completely irreplaceable. No, take it. You go to the show, you have a blast. You let me know if you need anything else. They found a habit for me that somebody brought down from Virginia because I'm 6 feet tall and they didn't have anything that was big enough. But Sue had a friend in Virginia that had a habit, and she managed to get it down here. And so I did the horse show in the woods this year, and that was wild. Side saddle is so much harder than it looks, and I don't know why on earth you would choose to do it or choose to fox hunt in that type of setup. But anyway, it was fun to do. It was different. It was fun to learn. It was, another thing to put on Ashton's resume, and I had a great time doing it. So I don't know.
So what would you say that you would say that you learned from each of the disciplines that you've done that has helped you in other disciplines? I'm sure there are many things, but if you could pick maybe some of the key things that have helped you to be cross-discipline and transfer skills from one to another.
I'm not sure it's so much about what each discipline individually has taught me. My grandmother taught me to be a good horse person and to listen to my horses and to try to understand what they're telling me. If you've got a horse that's being naughty, why is that horse being naughty? That horse is being naughty because something's wrong. You need to figure out what's wrong. That's your job as a horseman, to figure out what's wrong with that horse. And basically, if your horse is comfortable and your tack fits properly, I really pretty firmly believe that there is nothing that your horse can't do. Now, there are certainly braver horses than others, and not everybody's suited to eventing or driving or dressage or whatever. But I think that being involved in many different disciplines, being around many different types of people. I've done the hunters as well. I qualified for Washington International and Penn National at the 4-foot regular working hunters with one of my intermediate event horses, and went to Penn National and showed there, and that was kind of neat. But again, that's a whole other crowd. The hunter jumper is a crowd. The dressage is a crowd. The eventing is a crowd. The side saddle people are a different crowd. The fox hunting people, the timber people. It's all different crowds, but they're all the most important thing is that you're a good horseman, that you listen to your horse, and you can't force a horse to do anything. You have to teach a horse. You have to explain to a horse how to do something, and then I firmly believe, like I said, you really can get any horse to do just about anything. Maybe not exceptionally well, but certainly, hey, let's go and try this. Let's go to a trail trial. Let's try to walk across the tarp. Let's try to load in this trailer. Let's try to go fox hunting. Let's try to go timber racing. How do you feel about eventing? How do you feel about this log? How do you feel about trail riding? All of that. I think it really just comes down to you have to be a good horseman.
So obviously, having done so many, you talked about now primarily being an eventer, and I look back at my earlier days and I did a bit of everything too, but I want to hear from you why eventing is your sport of choice of all of them.
I did the hunters when I was a kid. You can only go in so many circles. I then sort of graduated and did some more of the jumper stuff, and that was more fun, and it was fast, and the jumps were higher, and you could be a little bit more reckless. And then I started to do the fox hunting, and the jumps were higher, and you could be even faster and even more reckless. and then I was introduced to eventing, and it definitely appealed to my certainly younger days of being aggressive and interested and willing to do just about anything and try just about anything. And, being able to go at speed towards a jump and knowing that the horse is sitting underneath you is capable of doing what you want it to do and at the level you're at. I mean, it's eventing it's multidiscipline again. You're not stuck going in circles and dressage all the time. You're not stuck in a show jumping ring all the time. You're out, you're doing cross country. It's different. It's doing different things. You're not just jumping flowers and rails all the time. You're not just going in circles all the time. You're riding across beautiful country and beautiful jumps and the decorations at AEC's, the course. I mean, everything was just stunning there. I think that the speed, and maybe that's not the right word, but I just feel like the open air, the being outside, the not being trapped in a ring. I think that's what being on the back of a horse is about. Your horse shouldn't be stuck doing circles all the time. I know a lot of people enjoy that, and I am doing the dressage at the FEI level, and it certainly is a very difficult discipline, but the eventing is just fun. You're supposed to have fun with your horse. The eventing is just fun.
Right. So what are your ambitions now? What goals do you have? And what other disciplines might you take on?
Well, I have a friend in Aiken, and I was teasing him last year that he runs barrels. So I think that Ashton's going to have to try to run some barrels this year, and we'll see how that goes. I really have no experience with the Western disciplines at all, and I think that would be fun because, again, that's kind of fast. And I don't really have anything else that really strikes my fancy. I don't think it's sort of an interesting question other than thinking about playing with the barrels in Aiken this year. I haven't really thought of anything that I would try with him. I'm open to suggestions. How's that?
All right, open to opportunities. Well, that sounds wonderful. Carrie, thank you very much for coming and sharing your story, and good luck. Who knows what's around the corner, but I'm sure you'll tackle it head on, so the very best of luck. Thanks again for your time.
Super. Thank you very much. Take care.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
And that's it for this week. Don't forget our show notes for this episode and all the other shows that we do here at Wisp Sports are at wispsports.com. I hope you'll share and follow on social media at Wisp Sports. And if you have any suggestions or questions or for the shows, any of the shows that we do here, or suggestions for guests, then do drop us a line to info@wispsports.com. I'll be back next week for another episode of The Horse Show. Until then, thank you for listening and helping us turn up the volume on women's sports.